Like and subscribe to Mommy's channel.
Ready? Hey guys, so I'm really sorry this has taken me I think it's like three and a half weeks to get another video out. I had a big video all done for you guys and showing you guys like updates, everything about Perth and all that sort of thing, and my phone had water damage on it previously. I got another phone and I was using that phone to edit still and stuff like that, and then I was going to put the video up. Well, I couldn't finish editing or uploading from that phone because the bottom of the screen was stuffed, so I tried to send it to the new phone and to the iPad and stuff. I gotta stop saying and stuff. And it wouldn't send, and now the phone is shut down and won't let me use it at all. So at this stage, the video and everything else is gone, like Hav's birth photos, everything is gone. So I'm really disappointed about that, and I'm really disheartened, so I'm trying not to think on it too much. So I'm sorry that happened. But basically what I was saying is we had a great trip in Perth with the kids. Terry was a little bit worried. I guess I was a little bit worried, but I figured it was going to be exactly like it was in terms of parenting in a different state, not at home in your comfort zone and that sort of thing. The kids were actually like fantastic as far as kids on holidays go. They were fantastic on the airplane. They were really great. We didn't have any crying. We just took the iPad and the phones and a little portable charger, and Noah watched movies and Eden watched movies and played some games. We read some books, we kept snacks, and they were great. Noah and HAVILAH'S slept for a bit on the plane, and everything was really as easy as beyond what we could have expected. The kids just did fantastic with that, so that was really good. And on the holiday, aside from being more tired because I was filling our time with lots of activities and stuff, so they would get cranky from being tired, or if we couldn't quite get to food straight away from somewhere where we were or something like that, then they would get cranky. But I mean, that can happen here too. So pretty much everything was as it were at home. My sister-in-law actually said to me that she'd watched, I think it was a Simpsons episode she was talking about, and Marge had said, the kids are playing pretend in the toy room, that Marge had said something about that the Simpsons were about to go on holidays, and Homer said, "Woo, a holiday," or something, or time off work, or I can't remember, and then Marge says, "Yay, I get to parent in a different state," something like that. And that's pretty much how it was. It was almost exactly the same. We were allowed to take the pram, which is the 2-seater. We took all 3 car seats, and we hired a car over there. And I also took HAVILAH'S bouncer, and I took the baby carrier, I took the ergo. And things were just really quite cruisy. Like, I'm really impressed with how it all went. In terms of having supply issues and stuff and going on holidays, now there's stuff in my eye. In the weeks leading up to leaving, she was doing really well. I'd taken her off the donor milk, and she was thriving. She was gaining like 300 grams a week and stuff like that. She was doing really, really well. So things were looking awesome. So as we were leaving for the holiday, I thought, as a backup plan, I'm going to take 2 bags of milk that I probably won't need, but it'll be good to have there. And I'll take my pump, and I'll take my diary, so I can do, like, I like to record like how long I'm pumping for, how much I'm getting, and how much I'm feeding back to her via the supply line. Also, because she doesn't seem satisfied unless she gets that supply line. So obviously, you know, when they're sculling, when they're swallowing and stuff, she doesn't necessarily seem to have that as frequently as she would like unless I'm giving her the supply line, even though supply line's only usually like a 30ml top up, right? So anyway, so I wanted to take everything and be prepared for that. We got to the airport ready to check in, with only probably like 15-20 minutes or something early, and Terry says, "Have you got your wallet to check in?" So I start rummaging through the bags looking for my wallet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I left my wallet at home. So I start freaking out that we're not even going to be able to catch this plane. We get up to the front, and the lady's like, oh no, it's okay. We can just use Terry's. So that's cool. So we used Terry's to look in because he's to check in because he was the first person anyway. So that's all fine. But it was at that point I realized I left my pump, my diary. I'd made booby brownies. All of that stuff got left at home. and it was going to be too late to get our friend who dropped us off. It was too late to get him to come back and drop it off to us, because by the time he'd driven home and got back to the airport, it would have taken almost over an hour probably. That was really frustrating. I thought, it's okay, I've got little bottles here. My supply line made it, and so did the donor milk, so that was the main thing. And I'm like, we'll just have to figure out the rest there. I'll just have to hand express or something. So we got over there fine, we nursed fine, that wasn't an issue, and the first couple of days I was having to use the donor milk. So I used the donor milk for the first half of the trip. And it got to the point where I hadn't been expressing, and it got to a point where I didn't have any more milk left. I'd used the 2 bags of donor milk. So, and we were heading to go down south to Pemberton and to go to the big trees and to Augusta, I think it's called, Augusta, and those places down south. So I really needed to have a way to get milk. So I thought at first, I was like, I'll just hand express in the car and it'll be right. But it was really just, hand expressing does such a good job, but it's so tiring when you're trying to get milk out. And I was like, I can't do this. So Terry said, let's just stop into the Kmart and go grab a pump. So I just brought the manual pump from Kmart, and I am so impressed. It's $25 and it does such a great job. The only issue I find is that it's really quite, the flange and the connection to where the milk goes in is really quite long. But it is such a good manual pump. It does such a great job. So I would be in the car, Terry was driving, and I'd just swap left, right, left, right. As soon as the milk would stop flowing from one, I'd swap to the other, and then back and back and back. And I just did that over and over. For as long as we were driving, I would do that. And I ended up getting myself together another stash through the driving and that, and doing that way. So I'm really impressed with that. I'm so annoyed. We've gotten home, and I just decided to try and use it again the other day. I'll tell you about that soon. And I've lost the, I can't think what it's called, like the duck bill part that creates the vacuum to suck. I've lost the one of that, and I don't even know, because it's Kmart one, where to get replacement parts for it. So I'll have to look into that. And I've been trying to use my other ones, but they slip off. So it's really irritating. I'm really annoyed about that, because I do actually am really fond of that pump as far as manual pumps go. So that was cool. So in the end, it worked out all good. I got home and she gained 230 grams for each of the weeks we'd been, which was great, because I tried to stop having the booby brownies before we left, and realized she went automatically back to gaining very little amounts of weight. So obviously I need the booby brownies. And then when I realized, as we got to the airport, that I also had left the booby brownies that I'd packed to take, that I'd just made specifically for the trip, that I'd forgot those as well. I made a point to go directly to a health food shop and grab everything that I needed to make them straight back to Terry's uncle's when we landed, and made up enough for the week and ate like that. So that worked out everything worked out really okay. So that was good. I was really stressed at the airport thinking, how am I going to make this work? But that worked out perfectly. And now Terry's pretty comfortable with the idea of taking kids on holidays. Before, he was really nervous about it. But this has really opened him up to see how okay it can be. And the kids had a blast. We went to parks and stuff like that. We got to see quokkas, and they got to play quokkas. And the kids got to do so many firsts. They went on their first aeroplane trip. They went on their first train trip, their first bus trip, their first ferry trip, their first boat trip. So they got to do a lot of firsts. And I had all of those things recorded and ready to show you guys, and they're gone. For now, at least. I don't know if I can save them. I'm going to say I don't think so. Also, for those of you thinking, use the iCloud update, because I had over 13,500 photos, and I don't know how many videos and stuff recorded on that phone. Not everything transferred. I didn't have enough iCloud data, and Terry and I had done the best we could while it was still working, and it still hasn't transferred everything. So I'm going to have to call Apple and see how we can go from there. But at this stage, I'm just making myself okay with the fact that they're probably gone. Also, in the last video, I talked to you about doing the Daniel diet, the Daniel fast, and getting a potential diagnosis of PCOS. So with the Daniel fast, I can't remember exactly what I told you guys, but so it was just fruit and veg and water I was going to do 10 days. I did 3 strict days, and in those 3 strict days, I dropped 3 kilos. And then what I did was I integrated normal food back into my diet, but I didn't allow anything that was processed. So I didn't have any breads or wraps or like bacon, pastas, anything out of a box, anything from fast food. I had none of that sort of stuff. So I had dropped the 3 kilos and that was all good. But I went and weighed Havilah and she'd gained only 160 grams. Now that's a good gain, but because she'd been gaining so well and because I wanted her back into the 50th because of the huge, I guess, percentile drop that she'd had early days, I just really wanted it to be more than that, which I guess doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I guess I'm still concerned about making sure she's having enough that. It was irritating. Anyhow, but so that seemed fine. And then the next week, still with like having minimal carbs and sugars and stuff, she only gained 110. So I was really stressing, and I was thinking she still needed to gain 150 grams a week. But I spoke to the child health nurse another week later when she'd had good gains, because I'd put the carbs and the sugar back into my diet, and she'd had a good gain. And I spoke to child health, and child health said at her age she only needs to be putting on between around 100 grams anyway. I think it's between like 100 and 120 grams. I can't remember exactly, but basically aiming for 100 is good. And I was like, oh, so even through that she had good gains, but I was just concerned for I guess no reason. So anyhow, I've pretty much still having the carbs and the sugars. I'm trying to limit the sugars, I guess, as much as I can. It's still having the booby brownies, and I was still allowing myself the booby brownies through the fast because I know that I need them for my supply. I'm not sure what part of it I put in it that I need, but something in it I obviously need because it works. And it didn't work with Eden and Noah, but they're working this time. So I did allow that. Yeah, so now that I'm like eating the carbs and stuff again, this week she gained 250 grams she gained this week. So she's gaining really well again. But the irritating thing, I've messaged the IBCLC that I see to say, because I'm really confused, because as I said, she's not swallowing and seeming satisfied and everything unless I give her that top up of milk, but obviously she's getting plenty of milk. And then when I'm pumping, I don't get a whole lot out, which I know it's not an indicator and rah, but I'm back at work now and she's drinking slightly more than I'm producing. So I'm still just using my milk. I'm still doing okay through the times when I'm not working. I'm getting enough together that it's okay that she's having that bit extra, but it's just confusing me how this is happening because this is a first for me. So with Eden, she had to have top-ups from like 4 days old from bad information and stuff like that. And I never really went through this making just enough sort of stage with her. I never had that. And then with Noah, I had an oversupply until I didn't. So this is all really quite new to me. Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused. So I've messaged my board certified lactation consultant about that and I'm waiting to hear back. So another couple of things on that note is I went to the doctor and I said, can we do metformin? Can I have metformin, because I've heard about it helping with supply, also with it being prescribed for PCOS. And I think I told you guys that they found 26 cysts on my ovaries, and they said my ovaries are small, at like 2.4 and 2.5 centimeters. So they said that's quite a lot, but they did say they're small cysts. So they said at this stage they're treating me for the polycystic ovaries, but the dietitian won't see me until I have a confirmed diagnosis or until I stop breastfeeding. And anyhow, so I went into the doctor and I said metformin, and he says I'll run the bloods for the PCOS, and if we get any sort of result back from that, I can prescribe it to you. So we did the bloods. I got back to see him and he said the bloods were no help because I haven't had a period yet. They need the period test. He said they were no help, but I did find insulin resistance. And I was like, are you kidding me? So he said, I can prescribe you the metformin because it's also used for that. So he's just put me on like the low level dose of metformin. I'm using diaformin or something, I think it's called. And yeah, so we're working on that currently. So I really need to cut the carbs, but I'm like caught in this like moment where things are going well and I don't want to risk my supply for my own health, if that makes sense. It probably sounds a little bit stupid, but I don't know. And I can go to healthy carbs and I'm willing to give that a try, but I've spoken to my IBCLC to see what she wants me to do, what she recommends as well. Because yeah, I'm just, my main priority is making sure that Havilah is getting enough of my milk and trying not to use the donor milk. I've only got 6 bags left of the donor milk. And my friend who was donating the milk has given me back the pump and stuff like that. So I don't want to be any more hindrance on her, asking her for more milk and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm insulin resistant and still waiting to confirm, but looks like I have polycystic ovaries. So definitely a diet change needs to happen. Now from that 3 kilos that I lost, as soon as I added the carbs back in, I went back up to 70 kilos. So I was at my heaviest at 71.5. I did the Daniel fast and got down 3 kilos for that. So what is that, like 78.5 or something? And when I added the carbs, I went back in. Now I was yo-yoing for about a week or so there. Every time that I would eat carbs or sugar, I would go up by like 500 grams, and then having a day without them, I would drop 500 grams. So I was yo-yoing really heavily with that, and I'm guessing that's the insulin resistance that's causing that to happen. But right now it's just staying where it is. It's just plateauing. So at this stage, the metformin isn't helping me lose weight, but it's only early days. But I'm not gaining weight either. So that's good. What else? So I'm back at work. I started back Ubering again. We were going to look at me going back to a normal job for 3 months to try and get the banks to give us a loan that absorb all our loans. But it's too much between trying to breastfeed and having the kids and homeschooling and stuff. It's too much. So we've decided I'm back Ubering, and I'm pretty comfortable with Ubering because I can stop in and see the kids when I need to and that sort of thing. And our friends are helping us out. They're being brilliant. And the kids love going there because they've got kids and stuff like that. So, and my friend Kim is just absolutely darling with them. And they love it a bit. So that's just being really awesome for me, making me feel really good. Havilah had only ever had like 10 ml out of a bottle before, and it was when she was probably like a week or 2 weeks old. So trying to get her to take bottles while I was gone was really difficult. She wasn't having a bar of the Closer to Nature bottles, which are the 2 that I've used for my other kids, and they've been fine, but they've been introduced to a bottle earlier. And I tried the ones that came with the Kmart bottle and a couple others, the Kmart pump and a few others, and she wasn't having a bar of it. So I went to the chemist and I grabbed the Pigeon, because I've heard a lot of people talking about the Pigeon bottles. And I think they were on sale for like $14.99 or something. I just grabbed one because I didn't know how we were going to go, and I grabbed the 3+ months. So I've been using the bottle, so it's out of there. And I've got milk in it from yesterday, so that's it there. And the nipple's really different to the nipples on the other bottles. But she didn't like that one at first either, and she was dribbling the milk everywhere and making a mess, and I was like, stop wasting my milk! But now she takes it fairly fine. She's done it after a couple of days. She figured it out. She even held it herself at one stage, so she's doing really quite well with it. So I'm really grateful for that. And what I'm just doing is, in between when I don't have passengers or jobs, either I'm parking up close to where I dropped the last person that's somewhere remote-ish, and pumping with just the manual pump, which is why I was upset about the Kmart pump. So I'm just using the cheap Wish manual pump that I have, which I do have to do. I've got reviews ready to come for the pumps that I've bought. So I've been using the El Cheapo Wish manual pump, and I just keep it in the door pocket. And yeah, so I'll pull over and I'll pump for either, until the milk runs dry or until I get a job or whatever. I've also, don't judge me, I'm really just don't judge me. But also in between jobs, if I've got a fare to go pick up, a passenger to go pick up, then if I have time, if it's more than say 5 minutes or whatever, I will quickly pop the pump on while I drive from where I am to where they are.
I love Mommy when I pick up, and then I'll have a bag.
Havs, babe. Yeah, so I pump in the car on the way to and from jobs as well. Just not with anyone in the car, if that makes sense. And that's helping me keep my supply up. But as I was saying, that I'm still falling slightly short of the mark. So, but I'm doing okay, and it's pretty good. There's nothing much to report on the work front. Everything's going fairly smoothly with that. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for the time being. This beautiful babe is 5 months old today. Hey, sweetie. Yeah, she's 5 months old today. I can't believe 5 months has already gone by. I'm really stoked. She's I weighed her in Monday, and she was 7.22 kilos. So she's doing fantastic. She's over the 50th percentile now. And as I said, she'd gained 250 grams for the week. So I'm really impressed with how she's going now. And it's so funny because it feels like our breastfeeding journey is sort of just starting to kick off. Like, not really, but I guess sort of getting fairly relaxed now. Whereas with Eden, it was almost finishing up because we were finished by 6 months. And with Noah, I ran out of my backup milk, and he was getting formula top-ups by 5.5 months and having some solids. So every experience of this has been totally different for me, but this is good. So she's falling asleep. Yeah, so it's a third time around and third different experience for me. But that's everything that I had to share for now on all those topics that I think I covered everything in relation to the last video and to the video that I didn't get to show you guys. Obviously, aside from I wanted to insert the little clips from the kids having all their firsts. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting your sleep. But I can't do much about that now, so that's alright. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a little bit out of it. I would love for you guys to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.